You're standing over the ball, grip checked, feet set, and in that half second before you swing, your head is screaming at you. Keep your left arm straight. Rotate the hips. Head down. Don't sway. Follow through. 7 commands at once, and your body freezes, and the ball squirts off the toe into the trees again. I did that for 19 years. 19 years of hitting it worse the harder I tried, and the thing that finally fixed it wasn't a new grip or a new club or a new coach. It was one strange thought that a one-legged golf teacher taught nearly 100 years ago, and almost nobody teaches it anymore, because there's no money in a thought you can't sell. Here's what I'm claiming, right up front. The reason your swing falls apart under pressure is not that you lack talent or strength or the right $500 driver. It's that you're thinking about the wrong thing entirely, and the whole modern golf industry is quietly built to keep you thinking about it. The good swing you already own is buried under instructions you were sold. Stick with me, because I'm going to hand you a single mental cue tested in a university motor learning lab starting in 1998 and first taught in a tiny New York studio back in the 1920s. And it works with the exact clubs in your bag right now. No gadgets, no lessons, just a change in where your attention goes. I remember the exact moment I understood how badly I'd been fooled. I was on the range at a public course outside Cleveland, $40 of range balls in a wire bucket, and a retired man 2 stalls down was pure striking a beat-up 7-iron while I flailed. I asked him what he was thinking about. He smiled and said, "Nothing. I just swing the head of the club." I laughed. I thought he was holding out on me. He wasn't. He was telling me the whole secret, and I was too busy drowning in tips to hear it. So let me tell you what it actually cost me to learn that, so it costs you nothing. Let's start with the money, because the money is where the trap begins. When I decided I was serious about getting better, I did what everybody does. I bought lessons. Not one lesson. Packages. At the club near me, they ran about $75 for a half hour, and the good ones wanted $100. I took maybe 30 of them over the years. That's well past $2,000, just to be told what my elbow was doing. Then came the training aids. The alignment sticks, the weighted club, the impact bag, the little band that straps your arms together, the swing plane hoop, the wrist hinge trainer that beeps at you. I had a closet full of plastic, and I promise you I've thrown out more of it than most people ever buy. Each one solved a piece. Each one gave me one more thing to think about, and the more pieces I collected, the worse the whole thing got. Here's the part nobody tells you. The golf instruction business does not profit when you play well, it profits when you stay confused. A confused golfer buys the next lesson, the next drill, the next gadget, the next club, with a slightly bigger promise stamped on the sole. The average golfer in this country spends hundreds of dollars a year chasing a swing, and their handicap barely moves. The National Golf Foundation has tracked this for decades. Scores have not meaningfully dropped in 50 years, even though clubs, balls, and coaching have supposedly gotten light years better. Think about that. Every part of the equipment got better and you didn't. Something is broken, and it isn't your body. What's broken is the idea that a golf swing is a checklist, that if you just assemble enough correct positions in the right order, a good shot pops out the end. That idea sells lessons beautifully. It just doesn't produce golfers. And I fell for it completely, one bucket of range balls at a time. But here's the thought that started to crack it open for me. If the swing were really a checklist, then the more you knew, the better you'd hit it. And it's the exact opposite. Beginners who know nothing sometimes strike it cleaner than obsessives who know everything. The knowledge itself was the problem. And once I saw that, I had to figure out why. That's where the science comes in, and this is the part that made me angry that I'd wasted so long. There's a researcher named Gabrielle Wolf. She spent her career studying motor learning, how human beings actually acquire physical skill, at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And starting around 1998, she ran a series of experiments that quietly demolished the way most of us were taught to practice anything physical. She split people into 2 groups doing the same physical task. One group was told to focus on their body, their hands, their feet, their arms, the movement itself. She called that an internal focus of attention. The other group was told to focus on the effect their body was having on something outside them: the club, the ball, the target, a marker on the ground. She called that an external focus of attention. Same task, same people, more or less. The only difference was where they aimed their mind. And the external focus group won, over and over, by margins that should have been front-page news in every golf magazine on earth. In one of her balance studies, people standing on a wobbling platform stayed steadier when they thought about the platform instead of their feet. In throwing and putting tasks, aiming your attention at the target or the implement produced more accuracy than aiming it at your own limbs. She and other researchers repeated this with golf, with basketball free throws, with jumping, with swimming, with darts. The pattern held so consistently that it earned a name: the constrained action hypothesis. Here's what that means in plain English, and it's the whole ballgame. When you consciously think about your body parts during a swing, you interfere with a system that runs better on its own. Your body already knows how to swing something. It's coordinating thousands of tiny muscle firings faster than thought. But the moment you jump in with "keep the left arm straight," you seize control of a machine that was running fine, and you jam it. You constrain it. You literally make yourself worse by trying. Think about walking down a staircase. You do it perfectly without a thought. Now count your steps out loud and think about each ankle. You stumble. That stumble is your golf swing under pressure. That's every time you stood on the first tee with people watching and suddenly couldn't remember how to move. When I read Wolf's work, I felt sick, honestly, because I had spent 19 years and thousands of dollars training myself to do the one thing the research says wrecks a swing. I had paid professionals to give me more internal focus, more body parts to babysit. Every lesson made the constraint tighter. I was paying to get worse, and everyone in the transaction was smiling. But here's what pulled me deeper, and this is where it stops being a lab study and becomes a buried treasure. Because Wolf proved it with instruments and control groups in the 1990s. But somebody had already figured the whole thing out, taught it, and written it down, more than 60 years before she was in a lab. And the way he figured it out will stop you cold. His name was Ernest Jones. He was a young English golf professional, genuinely gifted, playing to a very low score before the First World War. Then in 1916, in the fighting near Luz in France, he was badly wounded. They amputated his right leg below the knee. He was, by any reasonable expectation, finished with golf. Except he wasn't. Within months, still learning to stand on an artificial leg, hopping on one foot to hit balls, Ernest Jones went out and shot an 83. On one leg. Let that sit for a second. Men with 2 good legs, 2 good knees, and full strength were shooting worse than that. And here was a man balancing on a single leg, unable to use most of the footwork and hip drive and lower body power that every instructor swore was the engine of the golf swing, and he was striking the ball beautifully. That broke his brain wide open, in the best way. Because he'd been taught the same checklist we're all taught. Shift your weight, drive your legs, turn your hips, and now he physically could not do those things, and the ball was still flying pure. So he asked the only honest question left. If it isn't the legs and the hips and all the moving parts, then what is it? What's actually making the ball go? And his answer was the strange thought I promised you at the start. He decided that everything good in the golf swing came from one thing and one thing only: swinging the head of the club, not moving the body, not hitting the ball, swinging the club head, freely, with the hands feeling the weight of that little mass at the end of the shaft, letting it swing like a weight on a string. The body, he said, simply responds to what the club head is doing. You don't drive the body and hope the club follows. You swing the club and the body follows it automatically, the way it's built to. He moved to the United States and set up teaching, eventually in a modest studio in New York City, and over the following decades he taught thousands of people out of that one idea. And he had a demonstration so simple it almost makes you laugh, and I want you to picture it, because you can do it in your kitchen tonight. He took an ordinary pocket knife, a pen knife, and tied it to the corner of a handkerchief. Then he held the free corner of the handkerchief between 2 fingers and let the knife hang, and he'd swing it back and forth. Watch what happens. The handkerchief stays taut. The knife swings in a smooth arc because the weight is leading, pulling the cloth straight. Now, he'd say, try to force it. Try to make the knife go faster by jerking the cloth, by muscling it. The instant you do, the handkerchief collapses. It buckles. The knife wobbles and dies. You cannot force a swing. You can only swing it. That handkerchief is your golf swing. The knife is your club head. The cloth is your arms and your body, which have to stay soft and connected so the weight can lead. Every time you tighten up and try to hit at the ball, try to steer it, try to power it with your body, you're jerking the cloth. You're collapsing the very thing that makes the club work. And I had been jerking that cloth for 19 years while paying people to teach me new ways to jerk it. Ernest Jones put all of this in a book. It's called Swing the Clubhead, and the widely known edition came out in 1952. You can still find it. It is thin, plain, and it contains more truth about hitting a golf ball than the entire wall of instruction books at the store, and it costs less than a sleeve of good golf balls. A one-legged man wrote the answer down in 1952, and the industry spent the next 70 years selling you everything except it. So now you know the science says focus outside your body, and a man who lost his leg proved it before the science existed. Which raises the obvious uncomfortable question. If this is real, and this simple, and this old, why in the world did it disappear? Why did nobody teach it to me across 30 lessons and $2,000? And if that closet full of plastic sounds like yours, let me tell you where the honest version of all this lives. Picture yourself over the ball again, 7 commands screaming in your skull, and imagine having just one. That's what I built into the complete swing system. First Swing hands you the grip, posture, and setup that 90% of beginners skip, and teaches you to read your miss so you know exactly what went wrong on every shot instead of guessing. Deep Swing takes you further, decoding every ball flight and giving you the permanent mechanical fix for those topped fairway woods. And the full 3-volume collection lays out the whole road, foundation to advanced, with every major swing flaw diagnosed and fixed. Here's a check you can run for free tonight. Grab a club, flip it upside down, and swing it like a pendulum, listening for the swish out front where the ball would be. If that swish arrives late and clean, you just felt external focus with your own hands. No lab required. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description, or the pinned comment. And every round you play carrying 7 thoughts is a round already costing you strokes you can't get back. Which brings me straight back to what actually replaced Ernest Jones's simple idea, and why it disappeared. Follow the money, and it gets ugly. A swing thought is free. You cannot patent swing the club head. You cannot put it in a box with a barcode. You cannot charge a monthly subscription for a feeling in your hands. Ernest Jones's entire method could be taught to a beginner in an afternoon and practiced forever for nothing. From a business standpoint, it's a catastrophe. It ends the relationship. A cured golfer is a lost customer. Now look at what replaced it. The modern instruction model is built on breaking the swing into an endless number of positions, each of which can be measured, filmed, diagnosed, and corrected for a fee. High-speed cameras, launch monitors that cost as much as a car, pressure plates, motion sensors you strap to your body. Each one generates data that proves there's yet another flaw, which requires yet another lesson, which sells yet another gadget. It is a machine for manufacturing problems, and every problem it finds is one more thing for you to consciously think about mid-swing. In other words, the entire high-tech coaching apparatus is a factory for internal focus, which is the exact thing the research says destroys performance. I'm not saying the people teaching it are evil. Most of them believe it. They were taught the checklist too. But the system rewards complexity, because complexity sells, and simplicity ends the sale. That's why a plain idea that fixed golf swings in 1952 got quietly shoved to the back shelf, while the industry sold us cameras that prove we're broken. And the cost of that isn't just money. It's the joy of the game. It's the 50-year-old who quits because he's convinced he's hopeless, when really he was just handed the wrong instructions. It's the round you didn't enjoy because your head was a war zone over every shot. That's what this stole from me, and I want it back for you. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, and I want to talk to you directly, because this next part is built for you. You're thinking, this is fine for real golfers, but I'm not one. Maybe you play twice a summer. Maybe you've never broken 100. Maybe you're standing on the range with borrowed clubs feeling like everybody's watching. Maybe you're older, and you've quietly decided your best golf is behind you, and this is all a bit much for someone like you. I need you to hear me. This method was invented by a man with one leg. It was designed from the ground up for the body that cannot muscle the ball. It is more for you than it is for the young athlete. This is the part of the whole thing made specifically for people who think it's too late or too advanced for them. It is not. So here's what you do this week, at home, with nothing but a club you already own, and you don't even need a ball. First, the handkerchief. Do exactly what Ernest Jones did. Tie any small weight, a key, a light padlock, a pocket knife, to the corner of a dish towel or a handkerchief. Hold the far corner between your fingers and let it hang. Swing it gently side to side and watch the weight lead and the cloth stay straight. Then try to force it fast and watch it collapse. Do that 10 times. You are teaching your own eyes what a swing is versus what a hit is. That single lesson is worth more than most of the money I spent. Second, take a club and hold it upside down. Grip it down on the shaft near the head, so the light grip end is now swinging out where the head used to be. Now swing it back and forth, easy, like a pendulum. And listen, you'll hear a swish. Your only job is to make the swish happen as late as possible, out in front where the ball would be, not behind you. That swish is the club head speed arriving at the right place. You're not thinking about your arms. You're not thinking about your hips. You're listening for a sound in a spot in front of you. That, right there, is external focus. You just did what a university lab spent years proving. Third, when you finally do stand over a real ball, you get one thought. 1, not 7. You pick the target, a specific spot, not just out there, but a particular tree or flag or patch of grass, and then you think only, swing the club head through to the target. That's it. Your left arm will take care of itself. Your hips will turn because the swing makes them turn. Your body was never the thing you needed to run. It runs itself when you let the weight of the club lead. I want to be honest about how strange this feels the first time. It feels like giving up control. It feels like you're not doing enough. Like surely you have to manage more than one thought. That discomfort is the sound of 19 years of bad habits complaining. Push through 3 or 4 swings of it, and something opens up. The ball comes off the face with a sound you didn't know your clubs could make. I remember the first genuinely pure iron I hit thinking about nothing but swishing the head at the target, and I actually looked around to see if anyone saw it, because I didn't believe it came from me. And here's the beautiful part for the person who thinks they're too old or too weak. When you stop trying to power the ball with your body and let the club head swing, you actually generate more speed, not less. Muscle and tension slow the club down. They're brakes. A free-swinging weight, led by soft hands, moves faster than one you're gripping and forcing. The one-legged man outdrove two-legged men because he had no choice but to swing instead of hit. You have that same secret available the second you stop fighting. So you can walk out this week and do all of that for free. But I saved the real thing for last, because there's one more piece that ties it all together and turns it from a nice idea into something you can trust under pressure, when it matters, when your hands are shaking on the first tee. And this is the piece almost nobody knows. Here's the finale, and it comes straight out of the connection between that old book and that modern lab, a bridge across 70 years that almost no one has ever put together in one place. Everybody who tries a single swing thought hits a wall, and the wall is this. Under pressure, even one thought gets loud. You stand there thinking swing the club head, and your mind, terrified, starts sneaking the old commands back in. Keep the arm straight, don't top it, don't embarrass yourself. The single thought isn't enough on its own, because the anxious mind abhors a vacuum and fills it with fear. The answer is buried in how Ernest Jones actually taught, and it lines up exactly with what Wolf's research found decades later, and here it is. You do not give your mind a thought about the swing. You give it a job outside the swing that leaves no room for anything else. You give it something to feel and something to time, in the outside world, so completely that it has no bandwidth left to sabotage you. The specific version I use, and the one I'd stake my whole 19 years of failure on, is this. As you swing, your entire mind lives in the head of the club. You are not near it. You are in it. You feel its weight the whole way back. You feel it change direction at the top on its own, heavy and unhurried. And then you feel it accelerate down, and you time one thing only, the exact moment the head reaches the bottom of the arc where the ball sits. You're not hitting the ball. You're feeling for the moment the club head passes through that spot, the way you'd feel for the bottom of a swing on a playground. Weight, direction, bottom. That's the whole mind, occupied completely, and there is no room left for keep your arms straight, because your attention is 100% out on the end of the club, in the exact place the research says it should be. Wolf's studies found something even more precise that seals this, and it's the detail that makes it bulletproof. The farther away from your body you place your attention, the better it works. Focusing on the club face beat focusing on your hands. Focusing on the ball flight and the target beat. Focusing on the club, what she called the distance effect. The more external, the more automatic, the better the result. So the strongest version of the thought isn't even the club head, it's this. See the target, feel the weight of the head, and let the swing send that weight out toward the target like you're throwing the club head down the fairway. Your body vanishes from your mind entirely, and a vanished body is a free body. That's the strange thought. You win by disappearing. You play your best golf when your conscious, controlling, anxious, checklist-loving mind gets a job so far out at the end of the club, so wrapped up in weight and target and the bottom of the arc, that it finally, blessedly, gets out of the way and lets the athlete you already are do what it always knew how to do. A man wrote that down in 1952 after losing his leg in a war. A scientist proved it with control groups starting in 1998. And in between, an entire industry made billions selling you the exact opposite, one lesson and one gadget at a time, because the truth was too cheap to sell. It survived because a few people kept that thin book alive and a few researchers kept testing what nobody wanted tested, and now it's sitting in your hands, and it cost you nothing but the time you just spent, instead of the thousands it cost me. So here's what I want you to carry out of this. That perfect swing you've been chasing and paying for and beating yourself up over was never missing. It was buried under instructions designed to keep you dependent. You didn't need more. You needed less, aimed farther out. You're the kind of person who'd rather know the real thing than keep paying to stay confused. That's why you made it to the end of this while everyone else went back to buying gadgets. So do one thing for me. Go tie a weight to a handkerchief tonight, swing it, and then try to force it and watch it collapse. And come back and tell me in the comments the exact moment the cloth buckled, because I want to know if you felt what I felt when I finally understood it. Tell me, just leave the word buckled and what you noticed. If you're done losing to instructions that were built to keep you losing, and you want the old, buried, honest stuff, the methods they stopped teaching because nobody could sell them, then come stand with the rest of us who are taking this knowledge back. There's a whole shelf of it. Next time I'm going to show you the forgotten truth about why the most expensive club in your bag might be the one costing you the most strokes, and the $2 fix an old pro showed me that made it obey. Don't let them sell you the answer twice. You already own it now. Before you go, let me tell you where this goes next. Inside the Old Ways Almanac, I walk you through the full external focus cue, drilled shot by shot, so it holds up on the course. And if something isn't clicking, ask me directly. A real person, me, answers you, not a machine. You won't be doing this alone. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. Cancel any time with one click. Come join me. Now that you've found that one simple thought, let me show you how to stop hitting behind the ball, starting today. It's easier than you think, and it's ready for you right here. Let's keep going together.